WWE Raw was an alright show, but it wasn't the best go-home episode before a major pay-per-view at all. There were a lot of interesting developments, but there wasn't enough to keep the audience engaged over the long haul. One of the major issues right now in terms of how this episode was built up is the lack of excitement for upcoming matches. Whether it's babyface versus babyface encounters like Finn Balor versus Xavier Woods or Drew McIntyre versus Big E, or the fact that the WWE Raw Women's Champion will be on SmackDown from next week, it all just seems like a mess. With that said, here's what we liked about this week's episode of WWE Raw and a rundown of things that in our opinion did not hit home, but to start with, here's something we liked and disliked in equal measure. Number 3, Best and Worst. Why did Doudrop win big on WWE Raw against Shayna Baszler? WWE had achieved the impossible. They had managed to rehabilitate Shayna Baszler into the assassin we'd always known she was, after the self-inflicted wounds that came from those embarrassing shopping skits with Reggie and Nia Jax. So, for her to lose on WWE Raw in the semi-finals of the Queen's Crown tournament may not necessarily be the best idea. Let's face it. The only reason why Doudrop won this big match is that Vince McMahon, Bruce Pritchard, and the rest of the creative team wanted a babyface versus heel encounter in the Queen's Crown finals. Also, for Doudrop to get the rub from defeating Shayna Baszler is not a bad decision at all. It just seems like this is far too small a stage for Shayna Baszler to already be losing. The Queen of Spades winning the Queen's Crown makes all the sense in the world, right? Number 2, Best, committing to Austin Theory. It was great to see WWE Raw star Austin Theory not get slotted into the 24/7 championship picture, as it seemed for a brief instant. With all due respect to Reginald and his merry men, it is certainly a step down for any superstar to be relegated to the division. Also, the fact that he's winning match after match against Jeff Hardy just establishes this WWE Raw star as a top-tier talent. This is one occasion where we're glad WWE's not going 50-50. Number 2, Worst. That embarrassing skit on WWE Raw starring John Morrison, Stop the Cringe. This is John Morrison, who was booked to look like an absolute star during his time in Impact Wrestling, who's been relegated to someone that enjoys meditation. The WWE Raw skit with the Viking Raiders where the three men spoke about Kais and raids was pure cringe. Honestly, the company could have done so much more with Morrison, now that he is away from The Miz, and yet chose to go in this direction with him. Number 1, Best. Goldberg pushes the PG line on WWE Raw in the no-holds-barred interview. Unlike the WWE Raw skit featuring the Viking Raiders, who came across as lamer than they were, Goldberg appeared as a man who meant to hurt his opponent. The fact that he constantly tells Lashley that he wants to kill him is certainly not PG. But it's an oasis of reality in a 3-hour broadcast that seems like it's aimed at children. Why would any father out to avenge his son say anything different? Number 1, Worst. The once-a-year push. Did they team up Mustafa Ali and Mansoor on WWE Raw just to have them break up before Crown Jewel, so that Mansoor can pick up a win in his home country? He picked up an impressive win on WWE Raw against Cedric Alexander, but will it matter going forward when he's back to obscurity once the event is done? Mansoor is a talented individual and the company could certainly do so much with him. This team genuinely had immense potential. Lacey Evans reacted to Becky Lynch's latest post featuring her daughter Rue. Lacey Evans and Becky Lynch engaged in a heated rivalry in mid-2019. The feud saw Evans and Lynch taking shots at each other on social media. Evans didn't hold back and posted a video in which she was seen cleaning the toilet with Becky's The Man t-shirt. Becky Lynch recently posted an adorable photo of her daughter Rue. In the picture, Rue is seen trying to get hold of the SmackDown Women's title. Lynch stated in the caption that Rue is the only lady who has a chance of taking the title away from her. Evans had an interesting response to the same and hinted at feuding with Lynch in the near future. At WrestleMania 35, Becky Lynch won the Raw and SmackDown Women's titles in the main event. She defeated Ronda Rousey and Charlotte Flair to pick up the huge win. Immediately after WrestleMania, Lynch kicked off a feud with Lacey Evans for the Raw Women's title. The two women clashed at Money in the Bank 2019. Lynch defeated Evans via submission to retain her title. The two feuded over the next 2 months and battled on 2 more pay-per-views. Their stomping ground match ended with Lynch winning again. At Extreme Rules 2019, Lynch and Seth Rollins defeated Evans and Baron Corbin to retain their respective belts. Lacey Evans went on hiatus earlier this year due to her pregnancy. She gave birth to her second daughter on October 16, 2021. Looks like Lacey Evans is determined to return to the ring as soon as she can. Would you like to see another feud between these two women, somewhere down the line? Alexa Bliss has just made a big tease on Twitter, in regards to her character. Bliss hasn't wrestled on WWE TV ever since her Raw Women's title loss to Charlotte Flair at Extreme Rules 2021. She is reportedly on hiatus as she is set to undergo sinus surgery. There's no telling how long Bliss' break will last though. Her fans are eagerly waiting to see her back on WWE TV again. Amidst all the speculation regarding her possible return date, Bliss posted a big tease on her Twitter handle. Alexa Bliss posted a GIF that shows her undergoing an interesting transformation. The GIF hints that Bliss could possibly ditch the dark persona and bring back her old character. Alexa Bliss was attacked by The Fiend on WWE SmackDown last year, thus began her descent to the dark side. Bliss soon joined Bray Wyatt and embraced her other, disturbing side. The duo made their way to WWE Raw during the 2020 WWE Draft and began terrorizing the Red Brand's superstars. Bliss and Wyatt kicked off a heated feud with WWE veteran Randy Orton, which lasted for months on end. Bliss interfered in Wyatt's WrestleMania 37 match against the Viper, thus resulting in a win for Orton. Wyatt was later released by WWE while Bliss kept working as a sinister heel. Her character has received quite a mixed reaction, but most have lauded Bliss for nailing it. Here's what fellow WWE superstar Liv Morgan had to say about Bliss' gimmick. "I love what she's doing. It's creative, it's artsy, it's dark, which are all things that I am drawn to. I definitely think maybe it makes others broaden their mind as to what we can and are able to get away with. It's inspirational in that aspect, showing us we can think outside the box maybe a little bit more than we had anticipated," said Morgan. Paul Heyman, Roman Reigns' special counsel, delivered a spoiler for the Universal Championship match at WWE Crown Jewel. The Tribal Chief will be defending his title against Brock Lesnar at Crown Jewel this Thursday. WWE has been teasing that Heyman might be in cahoots with Lesnar, and the uncertainty of the situation has made the whole feud interesting. Paul Heyman took to Instagram to announce that he will walk inside Crown Jewel with Universal Champion Roman Reigns, and he'll leave with the Universal Champion, although he didn't mention the Tribal Chief by name. Exclusive spoiler for Crown Jewel. Heyman wrote, "Roman Reigns vs. Brock Lesnar, this Thursday live on Peacock and WWE Network. I hate to spoil the ending of what is the biggest box office match of 2021, but ladies and gentlemen, my name is Paul Heyman, and I will be walking down the aisle at Crown Jewel with the reigning defending undisputed WWE Universal Heavyweight Champion, and I assure you, I will be leaving Crown Jewel with the WWE Universal Heavyweight Champion." Paul Heyman and Brock Lesnar have worked together for a long time and know each other very well. Unlike Lesnar, Roman Reigns doesn't need a mouthpiece because he's already good on the mic. But that doesn't mean that Reigns and Paul Heyman should part ways. They are awesome together and have great chemistry. As the Tribal Chief, Reigns needs a Paul Heyman, and there's no one like Paul Heyman besides Paul Heyman.